Okay, so another external solution is microfinance or microcredit. Um, some people would say you could count this, you could count this as a form of aid. It depends, it depends on how you look at it, and it depends on the forms that it takes. So if I was writing about aid, I might be inclined to bring this in later. But you can view it as a separate, as a separate issue all by itself. So microfinance for me has two main elements. There's traditional microfinance, and what traditional microfinance is all about is trying to provide banking and credit, to people who wouldn't ordinarily be able to get it. People who don't have collateral, people who don't have credit rating. And we're often talking about people in, kind of rural areas who lack access to conventional banking and society may not even, kind of use money on a regular basis. But if you try to start up a business, you've got a problem. So it's funding for people with a lack of access to conventional banking. Often we're looking at poor entrepreneurs or poor small businesses who simply can't get the credit they need either to get established in the first place, or to grow. So what microloans do is they provide, usually very small scale loans. And we're looking generally, anywhere from kind of 10 to maybe a few $100. That are designed to allow you to get started. So there was an example that we were looking at the other day. It was a case study on Myanmar, and it was talking about microloans of kind of $100, $150 to allow farmers to buy seeds. They can then plant those seeds, harvest the crops. Some of those seeds they can replant next year. They repay the loan. They've got surplus money. That's the idea behind this. But it doesn't have to be in agriculture. It can be in a whole host of different areas. The original kind of microcredit institution was Grameen Bank, which kicked off in Bangladesh. And originally he started with loans of around $27. And the way microfinance institutions work is they tend to lend to groups of individuals, usually women. And the reason is that lending to groups of women, as of all the people that you can lend to, has been shown to give the highest repayment rates. Particularly groups, because there's kind of pressure on people within those groups, to make sure that they keep up their individual repayments. So it's quite powerful in the sense that you're tackling a market failure. So there's a market failure in banking, which means that particularly in rural areas, people simply can't access banking services. This is trying to close that market failure. There's been some criticism of interest rates. If you read around it, interest rates are far higher than you would be expecting, somewhere like the UK. And that's because inflation rates in low-income countries are often higher, and the costs of, which means interest rates have to be higher, and the cost of servicing loans, it's kind of, if you're lending $10, the costs to the microfinance institutions of lending you money are a significant proportion of that. So microfinance institutions try and keep interest rates as low as they possibly can, to allow them to cover the cost of any bad debts, to get their money back and to continue to lend. But interest rates are higher than you would expect, but a hell of a lot lower than any alternatives that exist. So essentially, what you're saying is it is aid, but it's aid that is or it's a form of aid kind of, but it's aid that's intended to allow businesses to start. It's aid that doesn't encourage dependency. It's targeted, and it's not just that we're going to lend you the money. We're going to lend money to people that we are convinced are likely to be able to repay it back, even if they lack collateral and so on. So a lot of it is through personal contact, meeting people, listening to them, and so on. So that's one form of microfinance. As I say, the main criticism is that interest rates can be quite high by kind of EU-US standards. A second type of microfinance is charitable venture capital, and we've looked at this through organisations like Acumen Fund, which was created by a woman called Jacqueline Novogratz. It's larger scale than microloans. So Novogratz, what they're doing is, so venture capital is providing packages of loans, support, investment in the form of kind of buying share capital, contacts, advice, all that type of stuff. So it's a bit like Dragon's Den, but for smaller businesses with a charitable angle to it. So what you do is, the way this works is you try and raise funds in high-income countries, and then you use those funds, to support in the case of Novogratz, kind of medium-sized businesses that are looking to expand to the next stage. And that, so it's businesses that maybe lack the experience of knowing how to break into world markets, or lack the contacts to do so, lack the advice on exactly how to hit regulatory requirements for EU and US markets. So what Acumen Fund does is it will go in with a package. Yeah, it'll provide sometimes loans, generally share capital, advice and contacts. But also, but the key, is that it's not just that, because venture capital businesses will do that, but they're prepared to accept a below market rate of return. So in other words, again, a bit like we were talking about microfinance loans, you're trying to get your money back, yes, so that you can re-lend it and reuse it, but you're not interested in making a big killing here. So it's that's that kind of charitable aspect of venture capital. So, excuse me, the other part of what organisations like this do is they tend to target organisations that are in merit good sectors, health and education. These might be charities or they might be businesses. But the point is that obviously we know that these are merit goods. They have external benefits in their provision, that type of stuff. And we know that the market, as a general rule, isn't great at supplying these areas. So Novogratz businesses, supported organisations trying to make and sell mosquito nets. There's, the one we've talked a lot about was an organisation that was developing, that kind of brought, plants across from Asia to Africa, to make anti-malaria drugs. So it's again providing the initial startup, or not in this case, but it's providing the capital necessary for businesses to kind of grow and succeed, together with a package of advice to do that. So again, it's an attempt to provide support, but to use market forces as well, again, to provide a kind of sustainable set of institutions and businesses that will allow growth and development to take place.